Welcome to the Tocsin Magazine's Everything Old School podcast. This is the part one of our series called Celebrities Are Not Here, but we're going to talk about times that we spent with them. And I have Denise Michelle, and I also have Triple OG Mac, and he was the drummer for the Main Ingredient Band. And Denise Michelle was a friend of the subject we're going to talk about is Cuba Gooding Sr. So we're going to start this conversation about our mutual friends. Correct. So Denise, I want you to tell me where and when you, rest in peace to Cuba Gooding Sr., by the way. Where did you meet him?
Absolutely. Well, I met him in Mount Vernon, New York. Actually, it was a show because I'm an actress, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter. And it was the Mount Vernon Street Festival, 2007. And you had got me connected. So I was singing on a different stage, some of my original music on a different stage. And then you were the one that kind of connected me with him. And at the same time, George was there. So it was kind of like Kismet, and we met backstage. So you introduced me, and also George introduced me. And George and I had a mutual connection with Bear Jackson because we had done a play together and we kind of reconnected. So all three of us kind of converged at that one time and met him, got his information, expressed an interest in possibly producing a film with him, with his sons, Cuba Gooding Sr. and Omar. And that's how I initially started connecting with him. And he said he was looking to have a female be part of the Main Ingredient. Mm-hmm. So as we know, that's a pretty famous, 70s soul group. And, we got to be friends, and I started learning all the parts and everything to go on the road. Oops, sorry, my lighting went there for a second. So I started working on the music to go on the road with him.
And I forgot about that show with the second stage. I forgot all about that too.
Yeah, and it was a good show. That was a good show. Dougie Fresh was there that day. I remember getting on stage with Dougie Fresh, and there's a lot of good acts there that day.
Yeah, we used to do that a lot in Mount Vernon, but it fell off. But I ain't gonna go there now. And from what I understand, though, but that's not the last meeting that you and Cuba Gooding had, because I will call you and you tell me I'm on my way somewhere with Cuba. I'm about to meet you with Cuba.
Cuba, oh my gosh, Cuba always had a million balls he was juggling in the air at one time, all over the place, from Mexico to California to New York, doing shows all over the place. So again, he started giving me the new music that the Main Ingredient was working on. And of course, the old tunes, like Everybody Plays the Fool, and a lot of the other classics that he has. So I started learning all that stuff and rehearsing with him. And unfortunately, we never got a chance to really go on the road, but I would go to his shows. I would go to other events. We ended up actually singing at the Obama inauguration. We ended up going to a state ball there, and I ended up singing in a club there in DC with him. So a lot of good memories with him. Learned a lot of information just about the business and everything else. And he was quite the character, and very personable, very persuasive.
Oh yeah.
And he could sell you he could sell anything, I would say. And there's a lot of different projects that we worked on. I actually, again, like I was saying, I brought a film to him that a friend of mine who's a producer in Connecticut, and it was a family film. So we wanted to have Omar, Cuba Jr., himself, and I actually got Ruby Dee to sign on with a letter of intent to play the mother in this film. But, as films go, unfortunately, it's hard to get the funding sometimes. So unfortunately, that didn't go anywhere, but still a good film. And I still hope, someone will pick it up at some point. But Cuba did have his own film that he was working on about his family. And he did give that to me to read, to, give my opinion on. He'd had several script rewrites. And that's something else OG Mac and I will talk about, how we both kind of got involved with that project. Everybody Plays the Fool, based on his father's life, his own life, and the legacy with his son and everything like that. Right. Cuba Jr.
And we're gonna all talk about that, because this is about the time that we spent with him. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure we all have very similar stories. So before I get to my man OG Mac, so I just want to get this straight. You almost became the first female singer of the main ingredient.
That is correct. Yeah,
That
he said
was a history.
he always wanted to add a female to the group. So it was an honor. Like he musically, he was always on point. You know what I mean? So it was an honor. Like his harmonies were always on point, learning those harmonies, and it taught me a great deal. And I know I could have, fit in well with
I
that.
know you can. I know you could have. You know.
Yeah.
So
But anyway,
OG
we'll
Mac.
talk more about the film, but that Everybody Plays the Fool was an amazing, I still feel it needs to be made. And OG Mac and I have talked about that. We would still love to see that turned into a film. His
Mhm.
father's story is a remarkable story, and how he got the name Cuba in the first place. But his father was actually a slave in Barbados, okay, around the turn of the century, the 20th century, and traveled all over the world and had a really interesting life and landed in Harlem, which is where Cuba Senior's story picks up. So I had brought that film to the Baldwins. So the Baldwins have produced a lot of films. I brought it to them in Connecticut to their offices. Ray is one of the movies that they produced with Jamie Foxx, and they loved the story. They thought that the story of Cuba's father could almost stand on its own. But this movie is really epic, and it could be a miniseries or it could be a full-blown feature film. And
He
that's
used to walk
something.
around with a script this big.
It was a huge script.
Yeah.
It was an amazing script. Like I said, the father's story could have really stood on its own. Fascinating. It's a fascinating family story. But yeah, that's how OG Mac and I kind of connected on that. But they really loved it. They did a whole treatment, and they had some of their script doctors kind of look at it and give me a treatment about what they said they would change about it, things that they would suggest. And I sent that to Cuba. He was really, he was happy. He was impressed with that. So, I think he had maybe about 6 or 7 rewrites of the script. And so it's still in progress. I'm still hoping the family, hopefully they're still working on it. We were connected to them somewhat, but OG more than I, but hoping that they will actually be able to get that out.
And he was very serious about that. So
Absolutely.
let me introduce my man. Right, you said OG Mac. It's triple OG Mac, correct, sir?
That is correct.
Okay, so let me address you. Let me address you with the proper respect, sir.
Yes, sir.
Triple OG Mac. As I understand, you were a drum player for the group.
Yes.
Were you before Cuba Gooding with Don McPherson in them, or you came after or with Mr. Gooding?
I came after Mr. Gooding. Actually, what happened is my cousin is a voice trainer, celebrity vocal coach, Craig Derry, and he was with All Platinum Records in Jersey with Sylvia Robinson, Sugar Hill. He's the voice in Sugar Hill, the Here I Am song, and the White Lines song. And he's a vocal coach for Angie Stone and some of the big people. He's been a vocal coach, celebrity vocal coach for 40 years. So him and I grew up together. I'm from New Rochelle, so I was at that spot at Mount Vernon with Cuba on that stage that night. And
well, welcome, because I didn't even know that. Because I gave him a check. City Hall gave me a check in the trailer. He said, I don't take checks. So I had to renew everything. I guess he had to pay y'all right then and there.
Well, Cuba dealt with a lot of cash, man. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
A whole nother story.
How did you meet up with him? How did you become a member of the?
I became a member with Cuba and the main ingredient through my cousin Craig Derry, who was with Sylvia Robinson and Joe Robinson at All Platinum in New Jersey. They had the Sugar Hill Gang. They had Grandmaster Fast Furious 5. They had the Whatnots. They had Spoonie G. They had Sequence, which was Andy Stone and them. They had a bunch of different groups. So I was there in the studio with them in Jersey. I had been working with a theater company in New York with Pancho Felix Camilio, Marvin Felix Camilio, the family theater company. And I was doing a lot of plays, theater. We were the first theater company to go to Broadway with a play called Short Eyes back in the 70s. And so I was at the studio in Jersey hanging out with Craig, and Cuba called and said he was playing in Jersey, he needed a drummer. So my cousin said, hey, my cousin's a drummer, I can get him over there. So I got the information and went over there and got with them and played with them. What it was is I was a stage drummer for his group. So whenever he came around, if he needed a guy to play someone, he would call me, when he was in town. Because as Denise was saying, he did a lot of traveling, the group did a lot of traveling. So when they came to New York, they would reach out to me. Meanwhile, I was working with the theater company and we were playing music with the theater company. We were traveling around. We had a repertoire of 27 plays. So we was on Broadway at the Vivian Beaumont Theater in Lincoln Center with Short Eyes. So I have been a drummer for years. I have worked with Craig. So I got hooked up with Q, and it was continue. I just continued.
How long ago was that phone call made? When you was in the right place at the right time?
Oh, that was years ago, bro. I don't even, that was in the 70s.
80s, maybe? Huh?
Maybe 75, maybe 75, maybe.
Oh, so that's darn near the beginning.
Yeah, that was pretty far back. Yeah. I had a long history, and Larry and George, but he at the time, he was, Cuba Gooding does main ingredient songs. So he was doing songs that were just main ingredient songs, but he made Everybody Plays the Fool successful. And then, Just Don't Want to Be Lonely, that's a remake of Dyson. And then he was doing some Stevie Wonder covers and
I'm sorry, OG Mac. Can you hear me? Cuba even told me that Everybody Plays the Fool was originally a country song, and they took that and redid that.
Right. And it was written for. Tell him, Denise. It was written for what's his name? Just passed away. What's that guy's name?
Country guy.
The gambler.
Oh, it was written for Kenny Rogers.
That's what it was.
Okay. I did not know that. And I'm here in Nashville at the moment, and I've been singing with some people with Loretta Lynn and getting to know more of the country scene down here a little bit. That's interesting.
And that's the truth. That's right.
So that's a lesson for the world, because not too many people knew. So we got it first. The song by the main ingredient, sang by Cuba Gooding, the big smash classic hit, Everybody Plays the Fool, was written for Kenny Rogers.
It was going to be a country song.
Don't forget the sometimes.
Oh, sorry. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
So, Denise Michelle, I have a question for you. Well, let me chime in here.
Okay.
The very first time I met Cuba, it was at a show. I can't remember where at. And I remember I shook his hand. We was talking, and his hands was real rough. That's all I remember. And he was proud of his sons. He was always talking about
absolutely.
He was proud.
1,000%. Listen, I have something I want to share with you, because he would leave me these very long-winded voicemails, and I saved a couple of them. I will play one of them for you. Would that be okay?
Hey,
that he left?
Sure. I would love to hear his voice again.
Because you get it, I really get an idea of his character and how effervescent he was, I guess you could say. Hold on a second.
Yeah. He wouldn't let you get a word in. He'll definitely.
Oh no, he wouldn't let you get a word in. He was
not at all.
He was on it.
For sure.
I love to hear the tone of his own voice.
Dig it.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
All right. So you were Huguenot, her son.
I'm sorry.
So you.
Oh, here we go. Hold on.
Okay.
It's Cuba Gooding Sr. I'm so happy and so proud of you and so happy for you. You finished your first day of shooting. That's great. Listen, I will be arriving tomorrow afternoon between 4 and 5 at JFK Airport. We're working in Springfield Gardens in Queens on Thursday. The show begins at 7 o'clock. I'd like to see you before then. Maybe we could meet in Manhattan on Thursday because I have to be sometime between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning or toward the middle of the day at Universal, the agent, to get my paperwork in order. Then I may be going with a from Medgar Evers College, going down to Gracie Mansion for an event that I'd love for you to attend with me. Call me back.
But you can see how effervescent he was and what a character he was, and always had something going on. Multiple things that he was working on at the same time. A lot of great ideas and great energy.
I agree. And every time he left me a message, I was waiting to hear from him. He would say, "I'm pleased as punch," all the time. But I didn't hear it that time.
No, he didn't say it on that one.
So, Triple OG Mac, what was your first impression of him when you met him?
Cuba was, I was already in the business, and I knew of Cuba Gooding Sr. I knew of the main ingredient. And I had a friend who was John Stark, who was Cuba's manager. And that's how we met. Met through John Stark. Well, actually, I met him. I think I met him through John Stark first, before that time happened at the studio when he called my cousin Craig. Him and my cousin Craig both sang second tenor, so they knew each other. They sounded a whole lot alike with their voices. Craig sang with the Moments, Ray Goodman and Brown, and them, and so that's where I met him musically. But I knew him through John Stark, who was his manager. And so, I was already impressed with him. I was a young guy musically, and here was an opportunity to join with guys that were doing it, man. And back in that time, there wasn't a lot of hip hop around, and I'm an R&B drummer, so I locked right in on that stuff. So, I had other issues with Cuba because Cuba was a character, as Ms. Denise would show you. So,
we're going to get into that. We all
Cuba Gooding Sr. That is what every time, no matter what, even when he called me, that's what we heard. But so I was excited. I was excited about being involved with these cats and having the opportunity to just roll with them. At the same time, I was doing theater in New York too, Right. So, and we were doing. I had a couple of contracts because I was acting and I was playing music in the Broadway show. So, I was involved a lot. And actually, I was the one who introduced Michelle to Cuba.
Yeah, I think Marquise, you brought me backstage. And I didn't, George, when you said that, I didn't know. I'm sorry, George. I'm going to say OG Mac. When you said that, I thought you were just like hanging out backstage. I didn't know that you would actually perform that day as well at the festival.
Yeah, me and Q was
okay.
We was kicking it on the real.
And it was just like I said, it was like a divine connection because we had already worked together with Bear Jackson and on that play. Right. Pretty Rick.
That's right. Pretty Rick was looking calm, man. Pretty Rick was looking calm.
So Denise.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Triple OG. Were you finished? I didn't mean.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, Cuba, the character he was. First thing he asked me, he said, "Yo, man, can I talk to her?" I was like, "Look, Cuba, she's just my friend. You can talk. Yeah, you can." It's like, okay, I just wanted to ask you, man, because she's beautiful. I said, well, she's.
Cuba he was a flirt, but everything was always professional with us. So. Yeah.
She can handle herself, so I just told him go for it.
Yeah.
But I told you what Cuba was like too.
Yeah, you did. But like I said, I learned a lot from this man. He was always looking out, like saying, "Hey, you should come and you can network here." So he's always trying to open some doors of opportunity for me. And like I said, not pretentious at all. You know what I mean? just, very down to earth, but he was, and very charismatic.
Yeah.
That's for sure. What was your first impression of him, Denise Michelle?
I was just like, wow, this guy, he's not, some people I've met along my journey have been, like I said, very down to earth, but very bubbly, very enthusiastic. I don't know, just somebody's like, okay, let's see if I can make this contact go further. And over, over several years, I got to know him. And like I said, learned a lot from him.
Can I say?
And I feel like we were talking, George and I were talking, OG and I were talking, his story needs to get out there. I would love to see an unsung. And I know OG was working with some people behind the scenes, trying to push that forward. I would love to see him have an unsung. In addition to the Everybody Plays a Fool project, which I really see. Cuba asked me, he said, I think you should play my father's first wife, or he wanted me to play that role or his mother. So I my acting chops, like I said, I'm in Screen Actors Guild, I'm in Equity, I paid my dues, you know what I mean? I've done a lot of theater, independent films and stuff like that. So I was definitely, excited for this project, and I still feel it's something that needs to be done. But OG can tell you more about the unsung process.
Well,
what were you going to say, Triple OG? What were you going to say?
I wanted to say a couple of things. I know because when you're talking about Cuba, I mean, everything is a go. But with Denise, I know Denise as an actress who works. That's she works, and she does a lot, and she's a great singer, great voiceover, everything.
Thank you.
When I was going to introduce her to Cuba, I already had that in my mind. I knew that, and knowing Cuba enough, I knew he would gravitate to that. So all of that, I felt it was going to lead to that. But as far as the project, Everybody Plays the Fool Sometimes, and the unsung thing, I have a couple of interested producers. Carl Craig, you may know him. He did Love Under New Management for Mickey Howard, produced that. He produced the Bobby Brown biopic from BET with Bobby Brown, and he also produced Hollywood Soul. The story on Don Cornelius, and so he's interested in Everybody Plays the Fool Sometime. They love that story, and what Denise was alluding to, the story of his father as well. You know that Cuba was very adamant about the name Cuba. Because father, his name was, and as Denise had told you earlier, he was like a slave, and he escaped Cuba, but the wife, his mother, got killed in Cuba. Cuba's moms got killed in Cuba, right?
No. What happened was Cuba's first wife got killed in Cuba. Yeah, that's what happened. His first wife got killed in Cuba, and because of that, the father's first wife, right? And he took that name on Cuba, and then came to Harlem, and then met Cuba Senior's mother in Harlem.
Right, but somebody called him Cuba in Harlem, and he adapted that name Cuba because his real name was Dudley. And so when he was in Cuba and he came to New York, someone called him, like they just said, "Hey, Cuba, what's up?" And he adapted that name and kept that name because his wife had got killed in Cuba, and then led down through. Then Cuba was born, and then his son Junior was born, and that's the legacy of that name that Cuba wanted everybody to know.
More history. And it's a great story because there was a former Mount Vernon mayor named Clinton Davis. Respect to my brother if he's watching. And I brought Cuba up there, and he showed them the script. And we were going to try to get something going, get a press conference or something. But I don't know exactly what happened. But I know he used to walk around with this big script, and he used to show me his pictures, and he used to tell me about his son. His other son, Tommy, but we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
And, but the only thing is, that would be a good idea. But do you think that there will be an element missing because he's not here to tell it and direct it the way it really, really was?
Can I get that question?
Yeah,
For
I'll add in.
it's for,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't think so. Cuba wasn't a film guy. Cuba was a singer. Cuba dealt with music. He came to me and he laid it all down to me. And it was 6 years before he passed away, rest his soul, that he really was pushing this idea, this film. And I went to Philly. We was in Philly at Templeton or someplace out there, some college, and a writer out there, and we talked about it. And I showed him a whole different treatment of using his father and using the story so that the story wasn't so broken down with the father. The father had 58 or 59 pages, almost 60 pages. That would have been a whole hour before you even see Cuba. So we devised a thing that Cuba would be doing his thing, maybe at a show or something, and then he would look in the mirror. Whenever he started thinking back is when we go and start telling the story of the father. You know, and it made it so that both stories could be combined in one thing, but keep the audience engaged.
Yep. And we feel that Omar, his son Omar, I've met all of his kids. I feel like his son Omar, or of course Cuba Jr. could play him with no problem.
Omar is probably the most suitable one. And Junior was probably better to play Dudley, the father.
Yeah.
More
I think so. I think so at this point.
You know, and,
absolutely.
And April, the daughter, April and Tommy.
Yeah.
I played music with Tommy. Tommy's a bass player. He played with the group. So
very talented bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a really rich legacy of talent in the family. Mm-hmm. And starting with Dudley / Cuba Senior, just what has been passed down through their line, what they've been able to accomplish as a family.
That's right.
Now, what I wanted to add in too, because I wanted to share. I mean, we all sharing personal things, but I want to share like maybe one story that happened that you experienced with him. I'm sure Triple OG, you got 100. Denise got a few. I got a few. One time, let me see which one should I choose from. Well, I'll tell you about when he told me about his. He loves some Cavassier. We used to always get some Cavassier before the show. And I remember one time he was telling me about when he came across Tommy, and Tommy had the long dreads. I don't know if he still does, but he had the long dreads. And he said he didn't even recognize him at first. He almost pulled his knife on him. And he was, he said he had to pull his blade out. This big old dude coming up on me. He said he had to pull his blade, and that just stuck with me because, that was like an intimate conversation to me. You don't just tell anybody, about that's your private life. The world don't, that's not somebody you just tell. I mean, things led up to that, but I guess he considered me a friend. To tell me things like that. I guess that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And I respected it and I appreciated it. And we got pulled over in Harlem one time on right by Mount Morris Park. I think that's 124th and 5th Avenue. And on our way to a show too. I mean, nothing came of it, but I'm Cuba Gooding Sr. He had to use that.
He always used that.
And every time I turn down that block, I think about him. I really do.
That's funny.
So
that's amazing. Quick, like 2 stories and one little other piece of history. What people don't know is like Cuba had a natural gift, but he also took voice lessons from none other than Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop, the lady of Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop fame.
Yes.
So he used to take voice lessons with her in New York. So it's pretty interesting. But I'll say 2 things. He calls me up and he's like, I got tickets to see Tony Bennett. Legendary Tony Bennett, and sure, one of the people that he loves and admires as well. And the fact that he managed to get in, I don't know how he managed to get in, because he could, like I said, talk his way probably into about anything. But I had a front row table. I was sitting with him, his manager, and some other people, front row table, and right in front of Tony Bennett at the front of the stage. And it was like Tony Bennett was singing to me. It was amazing. Wow. And then went backstage and met Tony. I got a chance to meet Tony because of him, and talk to him a little bit, take a picture with him. Huh?
I said, you never told me that.
Yeah, that was like a really amazing night. I would say.
Wow.
And he told, and Tony Bennett gave me the advice. He's like, don't stop singing. Right. So that was really cool. And then, like I said, in DC, during the Barack Obama's first inauguration, but there was no hotels in town at all. Like, I was staying with a friend. I met some other people. I was doing, actually it was backstage doing work on the BET honors. So all this was happening in one weekend, and Cuba did not have a place to stay. And one of the people that I met doing the work I was doing with BET had a place for him to stay. So he was forever indebted that I was able to find him like a place to stay when there was literally everything was sold out. And in turn, he managed to hustle, and with no tickets now, and all the state balls that happen when there's an inauguration, zero tickets. He managed to hustle us in to a state ball for Barack Obama with no tickets whatsoever. So we had like an amazing, it was like an amazing night. He managed to get like 3 or 4 people in. Yeah. And then after that, we went to sing at a club there in DC. So.
Right. He had the gift of gab.
He absolutely did.
That's the shoe. Triple OG. Let me hear a story. I mean, I know you got plenty of them, but Denise Michelle, I want you to cue up. I want you to cue up another message, because we're going to end. When we end this interview, I want to end it with his voice. So I want you to cue up another message, if it's not too personal.
It's not. It's kind of long though, so I guess you can edit whatever you want to edit from it.
Okay, and you don't even have to play it long, but we'll take it from there.
Okay.
But just do that up.
Okay.
So tell me a story, Triple OG. If you don't mind.
There's a whole lot of stories, but I just want to keep everything kosher, because there was a lot of stories. And you know Cuba. Cuba was, he did what he did, man. He was into a lot of different things, and I could tell you a story. He was driving. We was on Riverside Drive, coming from one gig and going to like a after hour joint. And this guy was driving mad crazy, and it was like he didn't pay attention. It was like, I'm Cuba Gooding Sr. I do what I want, and he's driving, and I was scared to death. I ain't gonna lie, I was in the back seat scared to death. He was getting on the sidewalk and coming off the sidewalk and this and that. And you know how Riverside Drive is. It's long, right?
It's narrow.
Huh?
And narrow, you ain't got much spot.
Yeah, but this dude, he didn't have no. But one thing for sure, we made it there safely. We got there when we made it safely. But that was the first time I ever was actually scared in the car because he was driving like crazy. But and that's just a light story, because there were other stories, but I don't want to get into the negative aspects.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it respectful. Yeah, I appreciate
keep
that.
It respectful.
Mm-hmm.
But the one, he was a speed demon, bro. He was a speed demon with a car, And
right.
After that, I became, I knew, we're gonna be all right. So even though he was speeding, and other times when we would go on the shows, we would go to the after hour or something. I got a story. I got a story I can tell you, but with the girls, because the girls loved it.
Yeah.
Love Cuba.
As long as it's not something he did and something they did, because I want to be respectful in case the family sees this.
Right.
So if they did something, that's a different story. But if they
used to throw pennies on the stage, man. That's the thing that I remember, and it led me to chase them girls. But Cube was very cool about that, because he didn't actually get that much involved with that. He said, "Let the band go." you know, you guys go, because then these girls are going crazy. You know, he knew they were going crazy over him, but still we had opportunities, you know.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And one more story he told me too. He told me about Curtis Mayfield, because he said they had a show one night.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Mayfield came late, so he got on in place of Curtis Mayfield. No, I apologize. Cuba said he came late to the show, and
Okay.
Curtis Mayfield took his place, and then that's when the monitor fell on him. So he said he was supposed to be on stage when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, he said he came late, and Curtis took his place, and he would have been on there.
Yeah, somebody looking out for him. Angels looking out for him for sure.
That's what he told me. Yeah.
Wow.
Goodness. Because
Indeed.
Curtis was in that film that I did the play Short Eyes. Curtis was in the film Short Eyes in 1977. He did the song.
Is that in the jail, when they were in the jail or something?
Yeah, in the jail, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that one. I was surprised to see. I said I didn't know Curtis was an actor.
Yeah, Curtis was an actor. And I was in that original play, and all those guys were my cast members: Miguel Pinheiro, Kenny Stewart, and Tito Goya. All of them cats were in the actual play. So this was actually the movie, and Curtis was in the movie. He did the song "Doo Wop Is Here to Stay" in that movie. Only 5 years after Superfly.
Yeah, that was my dude too. So Denise Michelle, anything else you would like to add on? Because we're going to end this. I don't want to keep y'all too much, short and sweet.
No, it's great reminiscing about him. And again, I like his story. Everybody plays a fool. That needs to get out there. Would love to see an unsung on him. He always had a lot of good intentions, and a lot of he tried to help people, and he was, like I said, sincere about trying to help people, and he, opening doors. So I'm grateful for all those experiences, and learning about business. He was about his business, so just grateful for that. But I think I do have another voicemail, so you might want to. I have to gear it up. Maybe you might want to talk to OG, and I might have to cut you in the middle or something. So
okay, real quick, Triple OG. I remember I took him up to 98.7 Kiss. It was a radio station in New York, and it was cold outside. And all he had on was a scarf, and I was trying to figure out, as cold as it is, why you just got a scarf on? But then come to find out, he was just protecting his voice. I didn't get that at that time. He was protecting his neck, because your voice changes when you get a cold or you get a sore throat or something. So I just wanted to add that on.
Okay. Hey, Marquise, let me try and play this for you. Hold on.
Okay, so here we go.
First saved voice message.
Hi, Denise. Happy Easter to you as well and your entire family. I'm so happy that you called me. I just got in from Marysville, Indiana. I'm back in San Diego now. We've been busy working in Mexico. I have for the affordable housing and in the studio perfecting this music, again with the family and everything else. I'm singing that in Spanish, and it's been a very hectic time. A dear friend of mine, with whom you may have met, his name is Norman Hedman. He was percussionist for Alicia Keys, and he's suffering from cancer. They're having a big benefit for him. All the musicians, all the singers in New York know him. So we're going to perform at the benefit on April the 14th. April the 14th is a Monday. It will behoove you to be there and be prepared to sing. I'm going to come in on the 13th. I don't know where I'm staying yet, but I will be coming in the 12th to 13th of April for that gala event. It will be a big deal. Alicia Keys will be there. You will make a lot of contacts, and of course, the way you look, I'm sure you'll be able to contact and speak with everyone with regard to anything else you may want to do with regard to your writing skills and everything else. Also, you will get the visibility by singing a few background songs with Larry and George and I. Okay, so that is a plan. But
Okay.
it will be the 14th of April. The name of the nightclub is the Jazz.
Message saved.
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay.
We left it there. So Triple OG, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Denise Michelle, I want to thank you for your time and putting me up on Triple OG.
Yes. Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Yes, and thank you for sharing the story, because one thing we all agreed, he was one of a kind. That's for sure.
He was.
Yes, so I'll be in touch, and thank you again.
Thank you.